and I turned on the video like a few times now, and it's not receiving your content. Oh, it just started. There we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna. Kristen and Jackson, there you are. Okay, great. So I'm gonna mute this call, and I'll be back in a second. Great. Okay. I'm gonna put that right there. Uhuru! Yes. Raya, Uhuru Jackson, Uhuru Johan, Uhuru Kristen. So I have the chat open here, so we can chat the whole time. Cool. Okay. Thank you for your patience, ironing out those things. We're gonna get started. Shouldn't be more than an hour, 50 minutes. So welcome to the, where do I look? The camera. Welcome to the first of our Burning Spear study series hosted by the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. My name is Connor Voss, and I'm the National Secretary of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And we are today going to be reading an excerpt from The Burning Spear. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about the work that USM is doing, the history of the movement and the Burning Spear. And then after we read the article from The Burning Spear, there'll be a little short analysis, and then we'll open it up to discussion about the article. And then we'll talk a little bit about some local events and updates on what's coming up in the movement locally and whatnot. So, Uhuru. Okay, so USM, as you can see, USM, let me get this other camera up. As you can see, USM is the movement of white people under the leadership of the African working class, under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. And we are a mass movement created and held accountable to that party. And there are three particular principles that make USM a unique organization. Okay, so the first one is that we are under the leadership of the party. So the party created USM, and we work directly under their leadership. So things that we do are coming from them. The second principle of unity that USM has is that Africans have the right to lead their own struggle, which means that we do not organize in African communities or with African people. We organize only in white communities, which leads to the third principle of unity, which is that we organize in white communities to pay reparations, raising reparations to Black Star Industries, which is the economic development programs of the party, of the African People's Socialist Party. So those are the three main things that make USM what it is. As for the Burning Spear, which I have here, and hopefully you have with you as well, the Burning Spear is the official newspaper of the party. Keep this chat open. Who are y'all? Here's the live chat. Uhuru Kristen, I see that. Okay. Okay, sorry, thank you. So the Burning Spear is the official newspaper of the African People's Socialist Party, and it was started over 40, let's see, is it 50 years ago? It was started in 1968. And this is such an important document for us in the movement because it's one of the primary ways that the party communicates to us its theory and its analysis. So we get this, it comes out once a month to your doorstep or to your local distributor. So it has a long history. It's coming out of the same movements that the party's coming out of, which are the Black liberation movements of the 60s and 70s. And the work is so deep, it's been going on for so long. So this document holds all of that. The Burning Spear is really, really a powerful part of our political education, and it's also a huge part of our outreach. So in our local branches, we're able to sell the Burning Spear as the first step towards talking with the public about the work that we're doing and raising reparations. Because when you buy the Burning Spear, you're supporting liberated African working class journalism. So, Uhuru. So we're going to start today, this first inaugural spear study, with the point of the spear, which is, and this is from the April. We have the May edition, but we're just going to finish up April. So we're going to start with the April edition, April newspaper, and we're going to be reading part of the chairman's political report. So the point of the spear it's in the centerfold. It's on page 8. So if you open up your newspaper, 7, 8. There we go. The point of the spear. Okay. So yeah, as I said, we'll be reading this. It's a little bit longer than like a standard newspaper article, but it has a lot of really important stuff in it, and so we'll be going through that. So, the point of the spear. Chairman O'Malley's 2017 political report. Our party must wage the war of ideas. The following is an excerpt from Chairman O'Malley's political report to the 2017 African People's Socialist Party plenary. The summary provides a summation of our work for the last year and guides the 2017 work of our party as we put revolution back on the agenda. This is part 3 in the series of 9. Uhuru Kalanda! If I'm reading too fast, I have a tendency to read quickly. If I'm reading too fast, just comment below, say, slow down. But hopefully I'll be able to read it together. You can pause, and it's live, but you can pause, I guess. Okay, continuing. There is a crucial position inside of the party's National Central Committee that is responsible for the consolidation of the organizational structure of the whole party. That position is the party's Secretary General, which plays a critical role in our efficiency in living up to our Congress mandates and resolutions, and maintains the accountability of all party structures to the tasks we set for ourselves. The work of the Secretary General is what should hold our recruitment work on task. The Secretary General should have general oversight of all our work and maintain a constant overview of what is needed to push the entire party forward. The Secretary General is the tool in the hands of the chair to forge the path established by the chair inside our organizational process. The office of the Secretary General guarantees that all our constituent organizations are functioning according to our protocols, minimizing the potential for disruption of the work of the party and movement by unexpected crises. The illness of Comrade Gaïda Gambon has made it necessary to relieve her of the role of Secretary General. Short little insert, Gaïda Gambon is amazing, and if you go on YouTube, you can see some of her speech. She has a great set of speeches about party discipline and stuff, which I just love. And so go do that in your whatever after we're done. So she's great. You can research all about her. She's really a strong force. Okay, however, the Office of the Secretary General, a post created at the 5th Congress in 2010, has never functioned to carry out this role. The Office of the Secretary General has never asserted its presence as Secretary General in the conduct of our party work. No greater evidence of this is the fact that there is no real Office of the Secretary General that we can now assign someone to. There are no manuals, POAs, and protocols established through the actual work of this office that set a standard for how the work of the office should be carried out. This is something we'll have to build from the bottom up. It is a task that my office will take on for resolution within this year, and certainly by the time of our 7th Congress in 2018. Next section. We must fight for the regional structure of the party. The leadership of our regional work, based on the organizational structure of the national quote-unquote party, is something that has not been vigorously fought for within our party. Again, this is due to the limitations of our party's National Secretary General. Nevertheless, the responsibility for leadership of the party's regional work falls squarely on the Uhuru, Virginia. Nevertheless, the responsibility for leadership of the party's regional work falls squarely on the shoulders of the regional leaders themselves. Going forward, the party must require a dedicated and demonstrably strict adherence to party building by the regional leaders, all of them, all the time. There are organizational manuals and organizational principles that must dominate the approach to this work and must be fought for in the strongest possible way. On a practical level, we know the efficacy of our regional leadership by the number of cities and states that have the party's presence. Our membership growth must reflect the numbers of the party's journal. The Burning Spear sells monthly. Sorry, I'll read that again. Our membership growth must reflect the numbers of the party's journal. The Burning Spear sells monthly. Sales monthly. The regional work must be reflected in the quantity and quality of regional participation in the party's work and institutions. It will no longer be allowable for party organizations to exist in name only. We must see growth and development. What is the quantity and quality of our membership? These are critical questions every committee or organizational leader will have to answer in order to validate their position and to continue in positions of leadership. How can we explain, especially now when the people are actually clamoring for organization and resistance, why we have not grown our organizations and committees after years of existence? What other practical means of measuring our regional work is applicable? This is even more important than our plans of actions, which are meaningless if they are not actually used to guide practical work that we actually carry out. Practice is primary. In this case, we think the old saying, quote, "Your actions speak so loudly I can't hear a word you say or write," end quote, is very applicable. As fast as our party is growing already, the development of our regional work and the presence of genuine regional leadership operating within the party structures would provide our people and our revolution with the army of cadres necessary to overturn our relationship with colonial capitalism forever. Cadres is a word just for some... Uhuru, Diane! For some literacy. Cadres is a word that gets used... it's a word that means someone who's taken a really strong revolutionary stance and has moved into the inner workings of the party. So we have mass members, mass movement, like USM, mass movement, and then we have a cadre organization. And there's a cadre organization for Africans, and there's a cadre organization for white people as well, which is called the African People's Solidarity Committee. Anyway, won't get too deeply into that, but just so you know when I say cadre, army of cadres, what that's referring to. Okay, next section. Department of Agitprop must wage the war of ideas. The party's Department of Agitation and Propaganda, Agitprop, is our primary organization for waging the war of ideas that we are permanently confronted with as a people and as a party. This area is popularly known as the Department of Agitprop, DAP or DAP, within our party and movement. Agitprop is a huge and complex operation that suffered many years from not having enough members and, as we develop, not having clarity of mission and organizational coherence. Every day, new members are clamoring to become part of our party through Agitprop. The department has grown tremendously over the last 2 years. Comrade Temba Shibanda, who relocated from his home in Chicago to our party's headquarters in Florida, is playing an important role in leading the Department of Agitprop. Comrade Temba is another of the new party members entrusted with a huge responsibility. Agitprop includes the Burning Spear newspaper. Agitprop includes the Burning Spear newspaper, Black Power 96.3 FM radio station, and distribution components. So get your app, get the Black Power 96.3 app if you don't live in St. Petersburg, so you can't tune in. Okay, so then the story, it continues on page 11. How are we doing? Everyone following along all right? Great. That's right? Okay. Flip. Everyone flipped? We got to the next page? Okay. Within the Burning Spear alone, there are 30 or more people on the team. Department of Agitprop also carries the responsibility for inter-party political and ideological development. This department establishes the lines of organization throughout the entire party and Uhuru movement. Yeah, so that's like what I was saying before. It's really important for the communication. Yeah. This is only a thumbnail sketch of Agitprop's role, but it is a statement of the enormity of the task assumed by Comrade Temba to lead this department. Temba has fought tooth and nail to improve his own political, ideological, organizational, and technical competence as a leader of this work. In this process of struggling to move the department forward more than anyone else in the past, Temba has withstood sometimes blistering criticism for shortcomings and errors, but he has persevered and his stance is one to be emulated. Uhuru Temba. This does not, however, liquidate the contradictions in Agitprop that Comrade Temba will have to overcome to eventually achieve success as the leader of Agitprop. The department still lacks a coherent trajectory, and the Agitprop members have to be won to the principles of democratic centralism in its internal practice. Democratic centralism, I'm not going to explain it but in depth, but oh good, I'm doing great, thanks, appreciate that. So democratic centralism is the organizational strategy that the party operates under, and there's a lot to read about it online, but I would actually suggest that you read what the chairman has in particular written about democratic centralism. There's a lot of it in the most recent political report, and if you have the book An Uneasy Equilibrium, there's a section about democratic centralism. So if you don't know what it is, or you don't understand it fully, or you understand it and you want to learn more, go read that. Okay. Continuing. I am currently involved in reorganizing our activities at our headquarters. This should allow us greater opportunity to oversee the Agitprop work and provide some support for Comrade Temba's leadership. At the time of our second plenary 1 year ago, we were able to report that the Burning Spear, which functions within the Department of Agitprop, had consistently gone to press monthly for the previous 3 years. This was quite an accomplishment despite the fact that our editor at the time, who was preparing to move Spear production where he was located, became ill and was unable to take on this task. Nevertheless, one of the young party recruits, Kalunda Mulamba, was appointed editor-in-chief of the Uhuru Kalunda was appointed editor-in-chief of the Burning Spear and has fought relentlessly to transform the Spear production process into a most efficient arm of the party's propaganda arsenal. Truly, this is an instance of recruiting new members into important leadership roles, bearing fruit beyond our expectations. Comrade Kalunda has forged most of the Spear team into an army of disciplined forces, moving closer to becoming cadres. There's that word, cadres. There are still some weaknesses to the Spear production process, having to do with too few people with specialized skills, and the failure to develop the economic component of the Spear work that would make production possible without having to cannibalize resources from other income areas. Uhuru, salute Kalunda. Cannibalize resources from other areas of Agitprop. Comrade Kalunda is one party leader whose utilization of party manuals has contributed to the success of her work up to now. The various components of Spear production are shored up with manuals explaining how the work is to be done, and Kalunda has not hesitated to make use of them. While there are struggles with Comrade Kalunda's work that sometimes includes a hint of commandism and dogmatism, other words that you should look up as well and understand if you don't. These are contradictions that owe themselves to inexperience in struggling to carry out her mission as leader of the party's most important tool of propagating our ideas. It's true. Moreover, a little dogmatism in this area can be a good thing, certainly better than the liberalism that has historically haunted this department. Additionally, under the leadership of Comrade Kalunda, the Spear team is much more aware that one of its missions is to bring the people of the team into party membership. This is a far reach from the previous liberalism that easily accepted volunteers to the Spear team, without an actual organized intent to bring them into the party. More and more Spear team members are being brought into our party. In this way, Spear production work is also functioning as an incubator for party membership. This must be developed and policies adopted to guarantee an ongoing automatic process of recruiting Spear team members into the party proper. Agitprop has had other successes as well. The department has survived the withdrawal from leaders of critical areas of the work. One such area is economic development. Another is Black Power 96.3 FM, the radio station we have acquired and which appears ready to be up and running by the time of this plenary. And it's up and running, and it's great, and you should get that app right now. I am not understating the importance of having direct leadership over the economic development area of agitprop, or the scramble to fix the problems associated with the desertion of the persons initially responsible for Black Power 96.3 FM. The fact is, previous political reports often decried the fact that agitprop is not bringing in the kind of resources to the department and to the party that it is uniquely capable of doing. This inherent capability for resource generation is too obvious to belabor in this report, and I only mention it as a recognition of the fact that agitprop has not solved this highly solvable problem, but it must be done. And while we have appointed someone to lead the work of Black Power 96.3, it is necessary to acknowledge the lack of experience of its current leadership. We must also continue to promote fidelity to the party's line, style of work, engagement of the masses, and creativity and popular application of this invaluable tool in the war of ideas, and the propagation of the party's worldview to the masses of our people and the people of the world. Put the phone... How do I block people? Block. Did it remove the comment? Okay, good. Comrades on the phone can't hear. 1 second, a brief... Wait, oh. I don't think there are any comrades on the phone. I just hear jazz music. Uhuru. Okay, well, we'll turn to the phone in a moment as well. Okay. Where are we? Okay. The last sentence that I read was, we must also continue to promote fidelity to the party's line, style... Sorry, I stopped. We're here at the end of this section. Party's line, style of work, engagement of the masses, and creativity and popular application through this invaluable tool in the war of ideas and the propagation of the party's worldview to the masses of our people and the people of the world. So now we're here at the beginning of this paragraph. Agitprop continues to plod along more or less successfully in tackling most of the issues mandated to the department by the political reports of our 6th Congress in 2013 and the 2016 plenary. These documents must be studied by the Agitprop department. Agitprop must begin to operate by the book. It must utilize all our manuals and protocols. It must actually bring in and properly deploy all of the hundreds of Africans who contact it to participate in the work. Agitprop must commit to an agreed-upon plan of action that informs all our work going forward, to which the Agitprop committee members and leadership are held accountable. This is a critical missing link in solving the myriad of problems confronting Agitprop. This holds true for the requirements of our radio work, the organizational principles guiding the work within the Burning Spear. Obviously, for the Spear and radio, this means that we must expedite recruitment into the party from the pool of volunteers who join the radio and Spear teams. What does it take to do this? It is a problem to recognize and solve. We must also recognize that there is much to do to enhance the cultural development of members of this critical department that is itself responsible for contributing to the cultural development of the African population as a whole. Revolution is a science and an art. And while the manuals will make us more competent in carrying out our work scientifically, the art of revolution is another story entirely, and it is something that Agitprop, perhaps more than any other department, must be consciously involved in developing and practicing within the department of Agitprop. Uhuru! So that's the end of the point of the spear of that section. So that's our reading for today. Thanks for following along. I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and then we'll open it up for discussion. We'll take phone calls, and you guys can post comments and whatnot. Great. So, the first thing that I want to say is that this article is being written primarily about the organization of the party. And while the Uhuru Solidarity Movement works under the party, it is not we are a strategic arm of the party, but organizationally, not all of these things apply to us. Like we work under the Department of Agitprop, but we have separate departments. So there are things like that that are not exactly parallel in the work that the Solidarity Movement does. And those are important because we're white people and we're organizing in white communities. So our audience is really specific to just white people, and so our work is tailored to that. But in terms of things like style and art, like in Agitprop, we follow the party style guide and other elements of the party's manuals. We use the party manuals to build our own work. So that's another way in which the leadership goes through. Okay. What else do we have here? Organization. So the chairman's talking a little bit about the play between practice and theory, which are inseparable in this work. So you can't just have a theory, you can't just have manuals and lots of information, and you're not really getting the work done. You're not bringing in resources, you're not bringing in new members, you're not building the organization locally and nationally. So you can't just have the theory. On the other hand, if you're just practicing and just flailing around going out there and don't have any strategy and are not summing up the work, talking about the contradictions in the work, moving forward with a new idea of how to, that's what this is, really. The political report is a summation, and you hear the chairman talking about different comrades in different areas of work, and really the summation and any criticism that appears or victory that gets talked about is in order to read the rest of the paper. Thanks, Kristen. We're not going to read the rest of the paper for now. We're at 6:35 our time. We'll do this. I'll finish talking and then we'll discuss and then we'll see how much time we have. We have until 7 our time. So. But thank you. Goodness, what was I talking about? Practice and theory. So this is a really big part. So we have to study, we have to do our political education, and we can't stop doing that. But at the same time, we have to be, especially for in the white community, we have to be going out into the white community. If we're not doing that, then we're just navel gazing. We're just like Surge, and we're just like all these other liberal institutions that are, not. This is so excellent. Uhuru, Virginia, thank you. So theory without practice is, there's some saying about theory and practice and them needing each other, but it's really true because as white people, we cannot just be reading books and books and books. It's great to give us a perspective. It's great to understand, because naturally in the white bourgeois community, we don't understand the African perspective. We don't understand the African working class perspective. We don't know how colonized people see us. We don't have that opportunity. So that's what this paper is giving us. And that's what this is helping us with. So yes, theory and practice, they need each other. So we need to be raising reparations, but we also need to be studying. So each time we go out into the streets and go out into the white community, we can talk about the world from this perspective. We don't have to inherit a bourgeois white imperialist understanding of the world. Always great reading that. Yes, it's great. Uhuru. Okay. What else? For Agitprop, so I don't know that much. I don't know Comrade Temba that much, but I did work in USM in the Info Ed department, which is sort of our art and literature department, which is developing. So if you're interested in doing art or literature with USM, let me know. Comment or text us or let us know, because we're recruiting designers and we're literature people and whatnot to write press releases for USM and whatnot. Info Ed, yeah, Uhuru. So that's our sort of parallel to Agitprop, but we're working under Agitprop. As I said, we follow their style and whatnot. And there's a lot of interesting elements of that. Design and aesthetic culture is political. You can't separate the political ideas from the aesthetic of the work. The font, the way it looks, the way we talk about it linguistically, the words that we use, as I said already, fonts, the colors, like the colors of the African revolutionary movement symbolize very important things. Black for black for the people, red for the crap. Now I'm revealing but you can go through the reasoning for each of the colors. And and the flag and the logo follows those colors. So agitprop has a really important role in sort of putting out the propaganda of the party and that reasoning there. Okay, last thing, burning spear. So in USM, we sell the burning spear. That's one of the ways that we do outreach. We go out with a stack of spears, and we go out into the street and we say, oh, great, okay, so Jackson helped. Red for the bloodshed, so which brings it back to, colonialism. Like, this is part of the experience. Black for the color of their skin, black people. Green for the green, right, so green is for the land. Yes, right, blood for African ancestors. Green is for the green of the African land, of the African, of the land. And in some, like in the logo and whatnot, there's a gold element as well, which symbolizes the resources of Africa, which are being pillaged and looted by white society. So that's just an example of how the colors, which are aesthetic, are political as well. So there's no division. Those things have to be integrated with each other. So that's what this agitprop is doing and whatnot. So burning spear. Okay. Thank you for that, Comrade Jackson. That's red star in the middle of the black, red, and green. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see the flag. And we have a red star. We don't use green, and we don't use gold. In the Solidarity movement, we use a sort of a subset of the colors of the party because we're still representing the party, but we're working in the white community. So again, our aesthetic is sort of brought down from that as well. Okay, we sell the spear. We go out with a stack of spears and a sign-up sheet and whatnot, and we go and we sell. They're $1, which is really low. I mean, this is valuable. I would pay many dollars for this, and I have. So it's really a helpful tool for us. Okay, so that's the end of my overview about the reading. I'd love to open it up now for other comrades who are watching along to comment with comments or questions. I can read them out and we can discuss them. I'm also going to pick up the phone line now. Is it still on? Yeah. I'm going to pick up the phone line now, and folks who are on the call-in number can... Uhuru. Folks who are on the call-in number can ask any questions that they have. Okay, I'm going to leave this. Jazz music on the hold line. Is there anyone? Johan says he's about to call in. Great. Do the dance. Material solidarity. Great. Okay, so Comrade Virginia, who's part of USM. I'm gonna say this and then I'll go back to the phone. Comrade Virginia, who's in USM, does a lot of great work there. We work together in the info ed team. Said that it's really important to be under the African leadership of the African working class, which is that's a huge part of the work. And as I said in the principles, we're under the leadership of the party, and African people have the right to lead their own struggle. How are you going to lead someone else's struggle? I mean, this is the question I have for white folks who are forming their own anti-racist groups. Like, we are not a sovereign organization. We're not meeting and deciding as white people what we're going to do. We are receiving information from the African working class, and we're figuring out in the white community, not in the African community. We're not organizing the African community. We're figuring out in the white community how to bring that perspective into our lives. Imbue our interactions on a daily basis in our jobs, in our schools, in our, wherever we are, whoever we talk to, bring that analysis from the African working class. So it's important for us to follow their leadership. There's no other way to do this, really. The revolution of the working class African people is not going to be made through it's going to be decided in every way by African people. It has to be. The contours and the developments, the timeline, the strategy, everything about this revolution needs to be determined by the people that it's benefiting, that it's going to affect the most, that are colonized. So white people should not be in any positions of leadership over African people's lives. It just shouldn't be that way. I feel so strongly about it, and that's why USM was so attractive to me, was because I was looking around for an organization. I was like, these organizations are all bougie, and these organizations are all white run and whatnot. So I'm going on and on and on, but that's a great point. And to pay reparations in material solidarity. So if you're just like talking about it and sitting at home, then you're not actually taking the stolen resources you have. Stolen resources, the fabrics, the materials, the money. Here's my change jar. The money, dollars, the which represents control of. Oh, Johan's on the phone. Uhuru, Johan, I'm gonna put you on speakerphone so that you can talk to everyone, and then if you have, just make sure that you don't have the video on so the sound doesn't loop. Uhuru?
Yeah.
We have Johan.
I really want to appreciate this study. This is our first study of USM on the British newspaper. The Lawrence Lane Black Power newspaper in publication since 1968. And it's the voice of international after revolution. And white people don't get to hear from the point of view of the African working class. And everywhere we go in the media and social media, we hear from this white appearance point of view. And that we are robbed of analysis of how we rectify our relationship to humanity. There's so many white people who more understand from the point of view of the African working class. And we have the opportunity to take it out into the heart of white community and take the white population into the two inches. The two inches is not living off the backs of African people, but working under the leadership of the African working class to overturn predatory capitalism. And the very is that beautiful that we begin to realize that we have been the surface of history, and now African people are saying, no, we have been the origins of history, and we're taking our messages back, our power back, that we have a right to African self-determination and a right to our own resources that have been stolen for hundreds of years. And the place is that this we have the opportunity to hear that message. And if we would think the words that we are denying the millions of white people seeing the future, our future with the rest of humanity, and it was responsibility for what opportunism and the other side is after people. Because every day that after may have won trial and shutting down cop or white vigilante, but have white people moving into African areas. That is a continuation on their side of African people in our name. And so, if we say we are progressive, if we say that we want to end folk racism, we have to end the very foundation of what, is going beyond the thoughts and spoilerism, the system that is fully out into the barbaric life. We don't have to unite with the ruling class so we can stand, I'm sorry, the